on this Thursday night. Thank you, as always, for spending your time here with us. Robert Walsh is behind the scenes, making it happen. Thank God he's behind the scenes. He just compared himself to Edward from Twilight. I'm confused as how one could ever draw that conclusion, but that's okay. You're here to talk draft. You're here to talk disrespect, because there is a tremendous amount of disrespect, a tremendous amount of shade being thrown in the direction of the Tennessee Titans in 2024. And normally I don't cape up for you all on a lot of things. I usually let these things play out. I usually just kind of, provide you the explanation as to why your team is being disrespected. And usually there is cause for the disrespect. But in this particular moment, we have the first round of the Stanley Cup playoff actually just got announced for the Predators Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's trash against the Canucks. Don't love that. Either way, point being, I don't normally cape up for the Titans on a lot of things because I think a lot of the disrespect that they get is earned, to be completely honest with you. And I know a lot of you guys don't love when I do that, and I know a lot of you guys don't appreciate when I do that. But this time, I'm here to cape up for you because the win totals are downright disrespectful, and we have not yet gotten to that portion of the conversation. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our least favorite parts of the pre-draft process. We'll get to a weekend bounce back at the end of the show, as is the custom. We always enjoy you guys hanging out with us on this Thursday night. Amar says the Lucas and Buck show was pretty good today. I enjoyed it. Yes, there will be a clip of that disrespectful situation early or later at the end of the show. Caleb Gray agrees. Lots of shade for 104.5 for Buck by allowing Lucas in the studio. Yeah, against my better judgment. We have had this changing of the kind of changing of parts and pieces. Nothing's actually changing, and as long as I get the vanity of my name on the show and the better camera, then I don't care who they put in the studio with me. Actually, that's not true. Lucas, I'm very proud of Lucas. I wouldn't tell him this to him to his face. I'm very proud of him. He's worked very, very hard to earn that opportunity. I was very glad to see the station reward him that way, even if his reward is having to sit even closer to me for 3 hours a day. So tough scene. But we will not talk about that. We will talk about the disrespect of the Tennessee Titans, because it wouldn't be an offseason if the Titans weren't being disrespected. We'll get into all of those things right after you guys share this program around on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch here in this on this beautiful Thursday evening. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate when you guys share this broadcast around, and it makes our job a little easier if you would be so kind as to do that. So let's go ahead and talk about this disrespect together here on a Thursday night. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Two Rivers Ford. The South's most trusted Ford dealership is Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com. TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch, the best way to work out, a new way to work out for the best version of you. Go to truemathfitness.com for your first workout free. And Zen Sports. Download the app, get in on the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA play-in, MLB, and all your favorite major sports available for you to wager with that promo code ATOZTN in the Zen Sports app. By the way, this is the, speaking of new announcements and all manner of different things, there is an announcement that we are able to make tonight about the primetime show, as a matter of fact. And this is something that I've been excited to do for quite some time. We are going to change up. Nothing's happening. Nothing huge is happening with the primetime show. But there are going to be some changes around here, as a matter of fact. There might be a little more Bert in the primetime show, which I'm not necessarily thrilled about. But there are going to be, there's eventually going to be a little bit of change in the schedule. And one of the changes in the schedule is that the primetime program moving forward after this evening is going to occur at a different time. I'm going to explain what's going on with that here in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and start the show. welcome into A to Z Sports Primetime. Didn't I already start the show? Didn't I already go through the sponsors? I think I already did all that shit. All right, we can go ahead and start the show. Not that shit. I did all of those very, very important things for the people that make this program free. So thank you very much to all of the great sponsors that make the Primetime program possible. So without repeating myself again, I'll tell you that we're very excited about a lot of new things that the show is getting. The show is going to look a lot different when next you see it. And in particular, the show is going to sound the same. Robert and I are going to do some tweaking to how it is that we do everything around here. But the most important change that you need to know about in the immediate is that Primetime will occur at a different time every night, Sunday through Thursday, moving forward. It is moving to 7 p.m. Central Time, Sunday through Thursday, here on the A to Z Sports live stream network. Sunday night will be the first night of the new time. It will still be me. It will still be Bert. There will be some future changes happening to the Primetime program before football season begins, and we'll keep you updated with the latest on that. But again, a new look and a new time for prime time, Sunday through Thursday. Still Sunday through Thursday. That's not changing, but we're just going to bump things up an hour because Austin and Zach, in renegotiating my contract, did me the courtesy of giving me my evenings back because I love you guys, but 8 p.m. On a regular basis can get a little late for me, and certainly when we're traveling with all the different parts and pieces moving around, 7 p.m. just makes the most sense for everybody involved. So we're very excited about that. With the programming changes in the future, we will keep you updated on that. Nick Wright says, explain this to me like I'm 5. Basically, here's the thing, okay? Stephen King says, Buck got the contract. Yeah, we did. We didn't, need necessarily a huge PR push the way that they did for me at the radio station and in extending my contract there, which I very much appreciate. I have a lot of things going on a regular basis, but I did, Austin and Zach were very, very, what's the word? They always have prioritized me in a way that I appreciate. It means a lot to me that I'm coming up. In fact, I think we just passed my A to Z anniversary last week while I was on vacation. But they have accommodated me because I am working a lot, to be honest with you. And we've been doing the primetime show for coming up on, we're over 5 years at this point. The radio show 5 days a week, which I love. The Greg Cosell podcast, which I'm very, very proud of. By the way, we already sold it out. So if you didn't get your tickets to hang out with Rand Carthon, the general manager of the Titans, with Greg Cosell, the executive producer of NFL Films, and myself, on Friday, May the 3rd. I apologize. I tried to warn you guys before I made the announcement, but we are officially sold out. There are going to be 300 of you at the Analog to hang out with us and talk some draft. A couple of 6 days after Rand makes the picks, he's going to be on stage with us and chopping it up. So just to explain this to you like you're 5, and then we'll get into the actual content of this evening. I've got 4 shows on a regular basis, not including Titans Radio pregame in the season, that I'm responsible for. And Austin and Zach have always prioritized. It's a really cool work environment that they built at A to Z, and I'm going to brag on them here a little bit. Actually, bleep that. Let's do the show. You guys aren't here to hear me ramble on about how much I love this and how much I appreciate the company. Though those things are important, you guys are here to talk Titans. So if you'll allow me, we'll do the show first, and then we'll go through the rest of the details on that later on at the end of the show, if that's okay. Because I do want to brag on them a little bit, but I don't want to spend everybody's time at the start of the show getting into it. So let's go ahead and get into it. We have the Robert Rising Hour, says Stokely. No, less Bert. Less Bert is what we asked for. Jacob Ray says, Buck uncensored. This is already uncensored. You know how they let me get away with so much shit on this show that I absolutely should not get away with. But I don't know that I could make it. I don't think that I could make this any more uncensored. I mean, I could if I wanted to, But we try to be respectful of the sponsors, and we try to keep it at least PG-13. Stokely says, "Shit, let's make this a brag fest. Go ahead, let's go." At the end, we'll make this a brag fest at the end, because I'm proud. I'm proud of this show. I'm proud of you guys. The way that you guys have supported the show. I'm just very emotional about the primetime show. So let's save it for the end, okay? Because I'll get caught up, and I don't want to waste everybody's time. Let's talk Titans. Season win totals are out in the AFC South, and the Titans win totals are absolutely disrespectful. They have added a variety of different highly coveted and very talented players to a roster that didn't have a lot of talent to begin with. They are not a very deep team, and that is where the draft process will start to address not only starting needs, but depth needs as well, because if some of these players go down, if L'Jarius Sneed goes down, you're back to the Trey Avery situation. If Will Levis goes down, God help you. Malik Willis is still there. You also have I'm blanking on the former Steelers quarterback named Mason Rudolph. You have him at your disposal as well. And so the depth issue is something that you'll need future off seasons to address, but this is about building the foundational core of this team and building this thing back up to where it can compete for AFC championships, for AFC South titles, and ultimately, if you're a Titans fan, you hope for that to be a Super Bowl. But the disrespect that was handed down from all the betting, all the sports books in the last couple of weeks when they're putting out the AFC South futures is pretty wild to me. So when you look at the AFC South betting futures, AFC South win totals in particular, and you can find these in a variety of different sports books. You can find them on Zen Sports. You can find them on BetMGM. You can find them on DraftKings as well, though we are, of course, a Zen Sports outlet. And in looking at the AFC South, I probably shouldn't have been surprised, but it is still surprising to me that the Texans are projected to win 9.5 games next year. That's a pretty steep situation for a team with a second-year quarterback playing a first-place schedule to have to wade through. I would expect the Texans to go under their projected win total of 9.5, even if that is 9 wins. To look at the Indianapolis Colts, who are the second favorite in the division. Indianapolis right now is projected to win 8.5 games, as are the Jaguars. They're in the same company as the Rams, the Chargers, the Browns, and the Texans, as I mentioned, 9.5. Then you have to keep scrolling to find there are only 3 teams. They're not even 3 teams. There are only 2 teams in the NFL with a lower projected 2024 win total than the Tennessee Titans. The New England Patriots are projected to win 4.5 games next year, as are the Carolina Panthers. And there are the Tennessee Titans projected to win 5.5. I think that shit is outright disrespectful. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, fair or foul, the projected win totals for the Titans here in 2024 at 5.5. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford Take is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service is what they offer. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They're here to help you. The South's most trusted Ford dealership is, of course, Two Rivers Ford. So, fair or foul, projected win totals of 5.5 for the Titans, 9.5 for the Texans, 8.5 for the Jags and the Colts, respectively. Do you believe those win totals to be fair, or do you believe them to be foul? Foul, says Tanya. Bobby Carter says it's always foul the way they treat the Titans. No, it's not, Bobby. Here's what I'll tell you. Titans fans have a bit of an inferiority complex and a persecution complex, okay? It's oftentimes fair the way that national media looks at the Titans. I would tell you that the Titans, the last 2 seasons, have gone under their projected win totals. They were projected to win 7.5 games last year. Of course, they won only 6. The year previous, I believe it was 8.5, and of course they won 7. I don't think that the Titans are always disrespected. I think that the Titans have been an underrated franchise in the last, let's say, not the last 2 years, but prior to that, the last 3 years, the Titans were a disrespected franchise. The last 2 seasons, the Titans have been dog shit, and I think that's completely fair to go along with that assessment. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends in the national media were very wary of this 2023 Titans offensive line group, and were absolutely correct. I expected them to be a bit more competitive than they ultimately ended up being in 2023. They underwhelmed them. I thought it was a bit of a house money year, and Hopkins signing made me think, okay, maybe they've got a little more juice to them than I realized. And then Hopkins was the only thing that really had much juice at all, and all the rest of it fell to shit. So when you look at this, the real cricket says ESPN Bet has the Titans at 6.5, and 6.5 might feel much more fair, but the vast majority of places that you find them is at 5.5. Troy Anderson says if we don't win 9 to 10 games, this was a failure. I don't think that I'm not saying you don't need to make that kind of jump. I don't think that's a failure at all, Troy. I think if you get anywhere close to 9 games, this has been a raging success. So with all of this, with where the Titans are right now, 5.5 does feel very, very low. And it's not just because of, I'm not overly optimistic about the Titans. I think I'm a realist about what your football team is at this point. But in not just talking to the players that you've signed to add to this roster, but seeing the way that they've treated the talent, seeing the approach that they've made, seeing the staff that they've brought in, seeing the way that Rand Carthon has gone about his business this offseason, which I'm very much looking forward to talking with Rand and Cosell about on May the 3rd at the Analog in the Hutton Hotel. But in particular, talking to L'Jarius Sneed and Calvin Ridley in a one-on-one setting, the way that I've been able to do after their respective press conferences, I have great confidence that the Titans are going to be a meaningfully competitive football team. And 5.5 wins, frankly, is not a meaningfully competitive football team. Did you have any idea about what direction this might head? Because the franchise tag comes down and you have a certain understanding that that's going to be the move initially. But after that, like where was your head at that point in time?
Honestly, man, I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. I was just so like what I'm gonna be, where I'm gonna go. It was just so many questions I was asking myself, and it got to a point where I was so confused, man. I just have to call my preacher, sit down with him and just let him instill in me, some words and encourage me. It was a little couple weeks of, discouragement. It was, because I didn't know what was next or what's going on.
Sure.
And stuff like that. But, it all worked out. And, I'm happy as ever, especially since I came into this facility and met everyone. And, I feel like I'm home. Everybody made me feel like family. And that's what I'm made about, family.
So that's L'Jarius Sneed in the one-on-one interview that we did with him a couple of weeks ago. You can check that out on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube page. If you're subscribed to A to Z Sports, you absolutely have to be subscribed to 104.5 The Zone on YouTube. And you can always check out the audio version of the radio show where we do all these interviews. And we'll have a great many more interviews. I expect we'll sit down with Will Levis here in the very, very near future. You can just search the Buck Rising Show in your favorite podcast app. So that's L'Jarius Sneed, and it's just Sneed is a part of the equation here. He's not the whole reason that I'm optimistic about the Titans or that I like the moves that the Titans have made, but I'll explain more about that philosophical approach that he signifies, that he's a part of here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMath has you covered. A new way to work out for the best version of you. I'm actually going to TrueMath tomorrow, getting a little Arm Farm Friday with my guy Worth Campbell. It's his birthday on Saturday, so I got to make sure that physically I'm looking right because Worth is built like a damn. I mean, Worth did play college football at Auburn, so it's not surprising that he's built like a professional athlete. But either way, TrueMath Fitness will get you in shape, in the shape that you want to be. They'll help you address your physical fitness. They'll help you address your health. If you feel like physical fitness would be beneficial to your health, as it is beneficial to all of us, TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. Brandon Brown said, did Buck just say he's optimistic about the Titans? I did. I'm cautiously optimistic, but like optimistic for me is if they win 8 games, I think everything that they've done could be considered a success. If they win 8 games in a cluster bleep of a division, a mess of a division, and they make meaningful steps with Will Levis. You see growth from the offensive line. If you see signs of progress and win 8 games in the process of that, I think this is a roster pre-draft that should be capable of it. Provided that they don't completely botch the draft, this is a situation where I think it's okay to be cautious. I'm cautiously optimistic. I still think the Texans are vastly superior. I don't think the Texans are thinking about the Titans at all this offseason. I think the Texans are thinking about the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the best in the AFC. Titans don't have to do that just yet. They're not there just yet. They're not where the Texans are. They need to be thinking about the Texans, the Colts, and the Jags because they need to figure out if they can build a team to win the division first and then add weapons and pieces and parts the way that the Texans have this offseason, probably next offseason, to compete with the best of the best in the AFC. And that's provided that Will Levis acquit himself as a legitimate starting quarterback in the AFC, which I have not yet seen, but I feel cautiously optimistic about Will Levis. Doesn't mean that things can't go wrong. God forbid that he gets hurt because that would derail this entire situation. AJ says, hey, Buck, we can build this team and win 10 games. Just don't get ahead of yourself. Like, why is it 8 games should be enough? Okay. This is a franchise that's roster is in the toilet. Okay. You have no business winning 10 games next year. You shouldn't. That to double your projected win total would be unthinkable. Now, as we've talked about, teams go from worst to first in the NFL the whole time, all the time. The Texans just did it last year. The Titans will benefit from a last place schedule because they finished 4th out of 4 in the AFC South last year. The Titans will be the beneficiaries of the salary cap situation that they had to be able to add that influx of talent that they did and the draft capital that they have because God forbid that they're picking in the top 10 again next year. It would be a surprise to me if they were picking in the top 10 again next year. But you don't have to get ahead of yourself. To go from 6 wins to 10 wins is a bit unthinkable with all the different problems that you still have. You still don't have answers to. I still don't know what your answer is at left tackle. We think we have an idea. A week from today, that may be solved and you may the draft will have already been underway by now. Of course, A to Z Sports will have a live stream coverage. I'll be at the facility covering the draft live and attending the press conferences and talking to the players that they draft all weekend. But you don't have to get ahead of yourself. 8 games is a reasonable expectation. 8 wins is a success, given where this franchise was. For them to win 6 games with as shitty as they were last year, the fact that Andre Dillard got another contract from the Green Bay Packers is batshit crazy to me. I love my agent. My agent's a stud. Shout out Sean Wyman at Max Sports. He got me everything that I could have possibly wanted out of my contract extensions with A to Z in the zone and more. But I would love Andre Dillard's agent because that guy is a miracle worker. How on earth could that possibly be so? So you don't need to get ahead of yourself when you've been one of the worst teams in football to turn around and say, 10 games. No problem. We're capable of winning 10 games based on what? You don't even have your draft class in place. So I don't like jumping ahead that way. I don't like people going over the top just because you're fans of the team and you have high expectations. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being confident and there's nothing wrong with being optimistic. I think your front office has given you reason to hope, reasons to be confident, reasons to be optimistic. But optimistic should start somewhere. You have to have attainable goals. Attainable goals is 8 to 9 wins in 2024. Anything beyond that would be, to me, unthinkable. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but let's start with reasonable expectations first and foremost. So 5.5 wins is foul to me. I think they're capable of at least 7 to 8 prior to them putting this thing in place for the draft. Trilogy Taylor says 4th place schedule in the division. The division is no longer something that you can cite as being to your benefit. The division is your nightmare right now. All 4 of these teams, including the Titans, project to be pretty frisky. I don't know how you can look. This is not the AFC South of 3 or 4 years ago. This is not the AFC South where you look at it and say, the Titans should run away with this. This is not the AFC South that the Colts dominated for years or that Deshaun Watson and the Texans were able to run roughshod over. This is a legitimately competitive division. Randy Cherry says the Colts won't be that good. You have zero basis for that. You have no idea what Anthony Richardson is going to be. You haven't seen him play enough football. You cannot make that kind of projection. I don't know that the Colts are going to be good. I don't know the Colts are going to be bad. I know that the Colts won damn 9 games with Gardner Minshew last year on a roster that was beat to shit. And so anything beyond that, I think you're probably just trying to talk yourself into the idea that the Colts or the Texans or the Jaguars are going to be less than you want them to be. Shady Production says show's lagging for me. Then you probably need a better internet connection because everybody else is having a just fine time. So I would check your Wi-Fi because you're the only one who's experiencing problems. So don't project anything beyond what you know. What you know is the Colts won 9 games last year without their starting quarterback. What you know is the Titans won 6, having to play 3 quarterbacks and working with the worst offensive line in football. What you know is that it is the Texans' division to lose, but the Jags, it was their division to lose last year. They blew it. The year prior, it was the Titans' divisions to lose. Titans shit the bed down the stretch when they started 7-3 and lost 7 straight. So this stuff happens all the time, but don't get ahead of yourself and don't fool yourself into thinking that this is not one of the most competitive divisions in football. These teams are going to be cannibalizing each other all year long. I don't think anybody is going to sweep anybody in the AFC South next year. I would be shocked if a team got a sweep of any one of the other AFC South teams in 2024. So 5.5 wins as a projection, I think that's disrespectful. I think 6.5 is probably the better projection, and I know ESPN Bet has them at 6.5. 6.5 feels fair. I would probably still go over. I think that this roster is capable of winning at least 7 games. We'll see what they add in the draft. Like I said, they could shit the bed in the draft. John Robinson did it in 3 straight drafts, and it's why your roster looks the way that it does. But Ran Carthon's been cooking this offseason, and I trust the staff on the coaching side that they have in place to help the scouting staff to be able to put together the best possible roster. I think that this should go pretty well. And this draft so aligns with all the needs that you have. This is a very advantageous position for you. The worst thing that you could do is blow it. It happens. Teams make dumb decisions all the time. I don't think that this is a team that's making dumb decisions right now. Randy says Rand is the man so far. So far. John Robert and J-Rob we trust is not that long ago. So I'm not down on Rand. I think Rand's checked all the correct boxes this offseason. The draft is still a huge component of this. Arguably, the draft is the more important component of this because if you don't have cost-effective contracts, then you're going to find yourself in a shitty situation the way that you have the past 3 years, basically. All right, let's keep it moving. Andrew Brown says, why does Stillman constantly hate on Rand? Well, Jared and I have talked about this, and Jared's not the only one. Listen, there were plenty of people in that building that were shitting on Ran Carthon last year. And, there are some holdovers from Vrabel. There are some holdovers from Robinson. I thought Rand was exceedingly generous in keeping a lot of the Robinson holdovers. He didn't have to do that. He could have ended their contracts instead of allowing them to finish out their contracts. And I would imagine there'll still be some changes that come post-draft. But there were a lot of people in that building that were shitting on the job that Ran Carthon did. I talked about it before. Stillman, I'm sure, is hearing some of the same stuff that I am. Jared tends to go to air with a lot more stuff than I do. Recklessly, I say, and I've told him that. It's not like I'm dunking on Jared or anything like that. Jared and I are good friends. But he does tend to go to air with things prematurely that I would caution him against, like Kevin Byard requesting a trade, which never happened. Or there are some other recent examples. I would have to go back through the list and cite, but Jared, I think, can get ahead of himself sometimes. And that's not always the best way to deal with the information that's disseminated. But so it's not, larger point, it's not just Jared that thinks that way. There are plenty of people in that organization that were denigrating Ran Carthon. You read the reporting from Diana Rossini and Joe Rexroad. Mike Vrabel wasn't sold on Ran Carthon, right? Now, that ended up not working out in Mike's favor. But Ran Carthon is anything but he's not a proven commodity just yet. So while it's good, the moves that he's made, I think he's doing the correct things. I think he's checking all the right boxes. As Coach Mack would say, I'm keeping my powder dry on everything because the draft is the most important part of this. And this is a critical offseason. Absolutely. Let's keep it moving here on the Primetime program. Let's ask you guys, what's your least favorite part of the pre-draft process here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch? We'll discuss it at length together right after I remind you. Is that my phone that keeps dinging? Is that what that is? Oh my God, that is. I'm so sorry. That's annoying. Anyway, What's your least favorite part of the pre-draft process? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is made possible by Zen Sports. No matter which of your favorite major sports you want to bet on, Zen Sports is there to help you. Up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager with the promo code ATOZTN. They also have same game parlays on the NBA, on the NHL, on the MLB for you to get in on the action. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. They've got you covered. All right. So, also must be 21 and up in Tennessee to bet. Have to remember to say that. So, Stokely says, where did Stokely go? I lost the comment. This is annoying when that happens. Sorry. Okay. Any shot we can get a spinoff show where you give Karski fashion advice? You pick out his attire for game day and film it all behind the scenes. Better yet, let Bird handle his attire. Now PK is going to dress like Paul's going to dress like a substitute math teacher no matter what you do with him. And I love him to death, and he gives me a bunch of shit about what I wear on a regular basis, but that's because Paul, Paul, I don't think wants to get terribly creative. I don't think Paul cares about what he wears, and that's completely fine. I very much like getting dressed up. I enjoy it. Game day is the only time that I do get dressed up unless I'm going to a wedding. No, I can't help him with his substitute math teacher attire. I think PK's got his same couple of jackets. They work for him. He's comfortable in them. That he doesn't care about it, I think is completely fine. That's all good. We can we'll bring him on the 615 sessions here in the near future, and we'll give him some shit about his attire. Least favorite part of the draft process, the pre-draft process, is the question. Stephen King says, love it all. NFL draft is my Super Bowl. Some people do, Stephen. It's a whole economy unto itself. I appreciate people that like the process of team building. What I don't love is the people that like the transactions more than they like the actual football games themselves, because the football is why we should all be here, not just the fantasy football elements of it. And then, you care less about what the teams are actually doing once we actually get to the season. I think there are a contingent of that. I don't think that there's a lot of people like that, but I do think that there are some people that drive me crazy with the transaction, with the obsession with the transactions, So, for me, Craig Baxter says, talking about the same 3 to 5 QBs every mock draft show. I know it gets tiresome. I agree. The drive is the most important part of our upcoming season. So to all you left tackle fans, stop yelling Joe, or else we are really going to win 5 games. For Randy, he says, I actually love everything about it, but I don't like that it takes so long to arrive. Man, I wish that it took longer, to be honest with you. I feel like Greg and I, Cosell and I were talking about this the other day. Greg's probably made it 2/3 of the way through every prospect that he wants to evaluate. I feel like I have so many more prospects that I haven't gotten a chance to watch, or that I have blind spots about every year. I think that the expansion of the regular season and the postseason, the addition of the wild card game, the extra wild card game, and the extra regular season game have very much shortened my off season. So for me, I would love about a month longer of the pre-draft process, just so I can feel like I've done more of my homework. Maybe that's an excuse. But there's a lot of shit going on, and I feel like I always lose a bunch of different draft prospects every year, and that's just that time frame is just getting shorter and shorter. Now that's for you guys because you're anxious. You want more football at the end of the year, and you want less time in between the football and the draft, which is exactly why the NFL has done it. So that's how it goes. Curtis's podcast network says, I don't like all the false smoke signals. I do like the drama of the offseason, who goes where for how much money, how long, and who gets drafted. The NFL is king in and out of season. They certainly have dominated the news cycle. They have figured out how to dominate the news cycle. Absolutely. Patrick Bird, I dislike how it's dragged out. Not sure why the draft can't happen the 1st of April instead of last. These teams have scouts doing this all year. Well, that's a huge common misconception, Patrick. You do have scouts doing all of this all year, but they're not coming together all the time. These people are spread out all over the country. It's a very lonely existence, the existence of a scout. You have people writing detailed reports on Montana State players, it's not just Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Michigan, whatever. You have people spread out all over the country. They're responsible for their areas. They have different levels of scouts that have to report to different levels of scouts, and they spend all year long putting together their draft reports so that when they get together, they can begin the actual team scouting process rather than the individual approach. They have to be able to stand on the table. Rand Carthon can't watch all of these players throughout the course of the season. He has to have people bring him prospects. Then he has to be able to watch the tape himself. Then they need to have meetings about it. And then you have to include the coaching staff. I think it would shock most people to know that coaches don't watch college players. I mean, the Senior Bowl might even be a little early for a lot of coaches because, for example, the Titans coaching staff wasn't finished until damn near a month after the Senior Bowl. So you then have to have meetings with the scouting staff and the coaching staff because you're not going to draft players that the coaching staff doesn't like. So no, there's a million different reasons why it can't happen the 1st of April. There is a reason. In fact, they could probably do with more time in the same way that I could do with more time. There's just a lot. There's just a lot of this going on. The Real Cricket says the best and worst part is everyone thinking they're Mel Kiper. It is a double-edged sword, right? I don't do mock drafts. I don't read them. I don't enjoy them. I don't really know why people do, but it's okay that people do. It's a fun thing that people want to do, and it makes them feel a part of the process, and it makes you feel like an armchair GM. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because it's not for me doesn't mean that there's not a huge segment of the population that doesn't enjoy the holy hell out of that. And that's fine. I'm not here to take your joy from you. Just because it's not my vibe, I do this shit all year round. So that's not necessarily the most fun exercise for me. I don't, people send me a lot of mock drafts for me to get my opinion on their mock drafts. I'll be honest. I rarely read my mentions anymore. I'll take a peek in there every once in a while, but it's like dipping my face into an acid bath most days. So I'm not really interested in like grading people's mock drafts or talking about people's mock drafts, this, that, and the other. But I think it's fine for everybody to have access to it. I think people should have access to it. This should be as inclusive and as fan-centric as humanly possible this time of year, and let the teams do the actual work. And then the rest of us can screw around on Pro Football Focus or Draft Network. I don't even think Draft Network still exists, actually. That shows you how dated I am with my mock draft knowledge. But that is what it is. Stokely says, serious question, Buck, finally a serious question. He says, from a media standpoint, is it interesting, beneficial when a team screws up with a bad pick like Isaiah Wilson, where they just are constantly in the news? Oh, well, sure. I mean, it's great for sports talk radio. Hell, I was the one that broke the Isaiah Wilson DUI news, if for those of you who remember. Now, I don't love getting a call from a source at, I think that was at like 5:30 a.m. on a Sunday that I started getting calls from people that were trying to, that were letting me know that Isaiah Wilson got booked. And then I had to get on the phone and track down to the police department and get the arrest record, and then, verify with the arrest report and this, that, and the other, and then make sure that I could verify it with another source. Then I had to get in touch with the team. Then I had to ask for statements, all these different things. So yeah, it keeps me busy. It's interesting. I now have a 3-hour-a-day sports talk show on top of the primetime show, on top of the podcasts that I do. So any content to me is good content. Anything that's interesting, compelling. I know you probably don't love that to hear that, because when bad things happen to your football team, you don't want people to just use that as a talking point or a means to drive up ratings. But the reality of it is, when there is drama, when a coach gets fired, when a team bottoms out, when a team benches a quarterback and brings another quarterback in, there's all manner of different things. The TMZ element of it, for the same reason that because you guys are interested in it, I know it makes compelling content. And the reality of the situation is, when shit goes wrong, more often than not, you guys are going to engage more. When the Titans traded for L'Jarius Sneed, phone lines on the radio show were pretty quiet, right? We had some interaction. We had some reaction. We got some likes on Instagram, this, that, and the other. But you guys were happy. You didn't have anything to call in about. Now you're listening, and it doesn't mean that my ratings go down or anything like that, but the engagement goes down because you're happy. And when shit goes poorly, you're pissed. When Todd Downing makes a bad call in a game that costs you, when Ryan Tannehill throws 3 interceptions against the Bengals, when A.J. Brown gets traded, those are all huge flashpoints that drive the fan base up a wall, which also drives engagement up a wall. And that's kind of the dirty part of the media business. I don't love the click game, but to ignore its existence would be disingenuous. Jacob Ray says, so you're saying all we do is bitch? Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, but it's not just you guys. It's every fan base in America. It's Warriors fans. It's Colorado Avalanche fans. It's everything. Derek says, Buck likes when we're upset. I like when you're engaged, right? I don't like upsetting you, but there is a direct correlation between you all being upset and how much you engage. And I'm just willing to tell you about that and acknowledge that, yes, that does typically help things from a media standpoint, even though I'm not like rooting on your downfall or anything like that. I'm not rooting against you guys. I'm just rooting for what's best for the show. And that's how it goes. Caleb Meadows says it 100% correct. Bitching is a fact, but it's part of fandom. Absolutely. Brandon says, I thought engagement was high after that miracle of a game in Miami last season. You're correct, Brandon. So here's what I want out of a football season. Okay. I'll give you the formula every time. I want your football team to go 10-7 every year. I want you to be competitive. I want to cover the playoffs. I love covering the playoffs. Well, I'll be honest, in 2022, when you guys missed the playoffs, I wasn't that upset because I had a whole month off and I didn't know what to do with myself other than, get to enjoy a month off, which was uncommon for me in the last couple of years. But I miss covering the playoffs, so I'd like you to be good again. But I need you to be 10-7. I don't need it to go perfect. I don't need 17-0. I don't need 15-2. I need 10-7. I need there to be ebbs and flows. I need there to be a little drama. I need there to be some adversity, and I need there to ultimately be a winning football team. Now, best case scenario for me in the last 2 seasons has happened because you drafted a quarterback, drama. You ended up having to start that quarterback in his rookie season, drama. And that is enough to carry me. And Josh Dobbs, thank God for Josh Dobbs, because at the end of that 7-game losing streak, Jesus, I was running out of things, and Dobbs gave me a little bit of juice to end the season with. But 10-7 every year would be swell. 10-7 every year would be absolutely swell. Need a little bit of drama, ultimately need a competitive football team. That is what it is. Never been 17-0. You may like it a lot. No, I know I would hate it. I run around. What am I going to say? If a football team is perfect, what is there to pick at? What is there to discuss? What is there to debate? If a team is perfect, there's no intrigue. You just get, okay, great. It's, feel good on Sunday, and then you win. And then what am I going to do for the 6 days in between the next time you play? Oh, the Titans did so well. Now I have 3 more hours of sports talk radio to talk about. So, no, 17-0 is a disaster. I would not want 17-0 at all. MB says, Buck, serious question. If you're not a Titans fan, what does it matter to you what their record is? Because I like to cover the playoffs. Playoffs are fun. I'd like to cover the playoffs if I was a Ravens reporter. I'd like to cover the playoffs if I was a Cardinals reporter. I just enjoy postseason. I enjoy football games. I enjoy working on Sundays. And yeah, this just happens to be the team that I was fortunate enough to cover. Been fortunate to be here for, we're coming up on 9 years, guys. And this will be my 8th full-time season covering the team. So yeah, I mean, what I want is what's best for the show. And what is best for the show is you guys being happy, but getting, you're getting a bit rankled a couple of times throughout the course of the season, just sprinkling in a little drama, just a little bit of TMZ for me. All right. Okay. That is, Stokely says, honestly, I think we would tune in more knowing 17-0, knowing it was torturing you. Yeah, because it would be boring as shit. I don't want that. Real Cricket says, here's hoping you get paid to go to a Super Bowl one day. Well, I do. Actually, I get the option to go to the Super Bowl every year. But, it doesn't matter whether you're in it or not. That's just the radio station sending me for Radio Row. Now I don't do it for the West Coast ones because I'm on at 8 a.m. Pacific time and there's nobody on damn Radio Row. But I get the option to go to the Super Bowl every year if I want to. I don't really need you guys to go to the Super Bowl. In fact, it would be a harder work week for me if you guys went to the Super Bowl. I kind of like not working, being at the Super Bowl and getting to go to the Super Bowl parties without working the Super Bowl is my favorite. But yeah, it'd be cool to cover a Super Bowl that the team that I cover is actually in. I'd do it once, and then I would probably not want to do it again because that's a long, long year. Anyway, so let's keep it moving on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch with a weekend bounce back. My just to answer my own question because I got caught up. My least favorite thing about the pre-draft process is that the Titans continue to miss on tackles, and that I've been talking about tackles for 5 straight off seasons. I'm sick of tackle talk. Just get it right, get it over with, and give me something else to talk about next season. 5 straight off seasons is enough. All right, weekend bounce back. Who needs to bounce back most in sports? Let me know in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Right after I tell you about the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official real estate agent of the playoff-bound Nashville Predators is GaryAshton.com. Your dream address without the stress is what they offer. The intel edge that you need to succeed can be found with Gary Ashton and his team. Go to GaryAshton.com for more information. I think MB says, I think covering the Patriots during their span would have gotten boring after a while. I can see that, especially because they're the Patriots and Bill Belichick wasn't saying anything and Tom Brady has never been interesting. Yeah, well, Tom Brady's more interesting after football than he was during football. That is what it is. I think that there would be something to covering that many Super Bowls in that period of time. But yeah, it would get redundant after a little bit. Stokely says my drip at the Super Bowl would be insane. So you want to hear the douchiest thing ever? It's probably not the douchiest thing that I've ever said, but I have 2 women that I work with who are stylists that help me because I'm incapable of dressing myself competently. And so shout out the wonderful women at Style Concierge here locally in Nashville, Emily Adams and Kat Friel. They are rock stars, so they make me look. They give me the drip because your boy is incapable of drip on my own. Absolutely. All right. So who needs to bounce back most in sports? Vernon says Dion from his comments about which team his sons go to. I haven't seen Dion's comments. Major Key says Glorilla. Oh, no. What happened to Glow? Bert, do you know what happened to Glorilla? Did something happen? I hope she's okay. Yeah, Glow. Come on. I love Glorilla. I hope nothing bad happened. I hope she didn't do something problematic, beyond the general rap star behavior. I hope everything with Dewey. No, that sucks. That's the worst. Man, I don't understand the DUIs. I don't understand them at all. And maybe that's easy for me to say because when you've had too much to drink and you make bad decisions, there's all manner of bad decisions that you make, but getting behind the wheel of a car, such a bad decision. In the era of Uber and Lyft, I don't know how it continues to happen. So hopefully hopefully nobody got hurt. Hopefully she is going to get the help that she needs. So who needs to bounce back? On a much less serious note, I need to bounce back because I tried to get Bert and Lucas and Jackson. They tried to kick me off my own radio show today, and I won't stand for it.
The station is giving the people what they want. No. Hey, who did this?
How did he? Security.
Jackson, did you let him in?
I've been struck.
I've been struck.
Out. What is in there?
Out.
You only get one microphone.
Get out.
You don't get both.
Out.
HR.
This is not okay. This is not okay.
He's broken in.
How did you get in?
What the hell do you think you're doing around here?
How'd you get in here?
What do you mean, how did I get in here? My key card.
Did you pick the lock? Who reactivated your key card?
I'm out of breath.
Who's working against me here? Jackson? Was this you?
I did not reactivate his key card.
Say something.
There's a mole in the
I've got to
building
get
somewhere.
ready. Go ahead. Continue.
Buck, right?
Since you think you're going to be able to do this, go ahead. And in case you want to talk more about how long you want the first round pick draft clock to be. That's invigorating stuff. Robert left his, I'm literally actually out of breath. Robert left his phone in here.
Do you like his background?
What is that?
You didn't watch Sopranos, did you?
Oh, that's
Pine Barrens.
The two of them lost.
Yeah, it's Moltisanti and there he is. No, don't throw his phone.
That was rude.
The F&M Bank chat, he said I have an otter box as he walked. The F&M Bank chat is beside itself.
Oh, no.
Football Fred says, well, ratings are going to drop now. Typical Mead says Buck ruins everything. D-Tag says no. And nobody seems to be happy about your presence here, so I don't understand what you're doing. Everything was going swimmingly.
Good.
So we unceremoniously announced today that Lucas has received a promotion. He's still the executive producer of the radio show, but he is going to be sitting in studio with me. Jackson Williams is going to take over a lot of Lucas's grunt work as a board op. It was a great time. Bert made my seat smell like cigarette ash for the entirety of the 3-hour radio show, which I do not appreciate. But all three of them do a great job helping me out on the primetime show, on the radio show. And now is the time to get self-involved, like I promised. We've almost done an hour show, and I know, honestly, Bert, if you got things going on, I can wrap this thing up myself because I'm gonna get a little emotional with the crowd here. So I will absolve you from your primetime duties for the remainder of the evening. I used to do all this shit by myself. So I think I can handle that much at this point. Like I said earlier, okay, I've just eclipsed 5 years with A to Z. I got an extension to stick around here for 2 more years. I got a 4-year extension to keep the radio show going, and I could not do any of it without Lucas, Bert, Jackson, Austin, Zach, Jake Evans, Parker, who's helped out with the primetime show, and most importantly, you guys. I love my job. You guys know that I talk a lot about it. I probably talk too much about how happy I am with everything in my life, because I honestly could not ask for a better situation and a better audience and a better crowd that I get to spend every night here with. You guys are my family. You really are. And I don't just say that. It would be easy to just, make that comment and not be genuine with it. But I love meeting you guys on airplanes when I'm miserable and tired and coming home from Miami, where I've been up in a press box until 3 a.m. But the adrenaline of it has not allowed me to sleep. And then I get on a 6 a.m. flight to fly back to Nashville and talk about how the hell Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins led the Titans to a comeback for a team that had no business winning in Miami. Love talking to Titans fans on all my flights on the road. Love seeing you guys at the stadium. Love meeting you guys when I'm out at the farmer's market. It's so cool that you guys have supported all this shit, all this stupid shit that I've done over the course of these last 8 years. And it makes me so happy to continue to do primetime. Makes me so happy to continue to do the radio show, to do the 615 Sessions podcast, to do the show with Greg Cosell. I'm so proud of what that is. Guys, I was begging people to buy tickets to that last year, begging people. And this year, I was able to text the general manager of the Titans and ask him to come through and break down the draft pick 6 days after he did it, after he makes it. And he said yes, and we sold it out 2 weeks before the event happens. And the fact that we were even that close to a sellout 2 weeks before the event happened, I can't tell you how much it really means to me. There's no way for me to describe it. And I'm sure I'm going to go on for way too long here tonight. And I'm already getting a little dusty, and I hate that because it's just me here by myself and the fucking cat, and the cat, and just Bert has even left me for the night. I told him to get the hell out of here because I knew that I would take a little while. But there are going to be some changes with primetime because Austin and Zach, what they have built is so impressive. And as their first full-time employee, I take so much pride into what A to Z Sports in particular has become, because I have seen how hard they work to make this thing what it is. And I have so appreciated the way that they have made me feel like people care. it's so many of us work in jobs where we feel like we're not supported, where our bosses don't have our backs, where people don't actually care about how happy we are at work. And that's always something that Austin and Zach have prioritized with me. Are you happy? What do you need? Are you enjoying what you do? What can we do differently? What would you like to do differently? Do you have different ideas? We can try this. We can try that. There are things that work. There are things that don't, but we can work through those. And I've always, always, always respected that about them. Now, 7 p.m. starting next week, the primetime show is going to be an hour earlier. And eventually, there's still going to be 5 primetime shows a week, but eventually, by the start of the football season, I'll be doing 1 less primetime show a week, and I'll let Austin and Zach tell you what they're going to do with the 5th primetime show that I'm not going to do anymore, because the reality of the situation is, guys, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I really am. But I am so happy and so gratified at the end of the day when I am tired, because 3 hours of radio 5 days a week, 5 primetime shows a week, 1 install podcast with Greg Cosell, 1 615 Sessions podcast, 2 hours of Titans radio with the hitman, Blaine Bishop. You know how cool it is that I get to work with Blaine Bishop every Sunday before the Titans play? That's a dream. Blaine's a rock star. You don't have to be a Titans fan to have so much respect for him, and that I get to share a stage with him every Sunday before the Titans take the field, that I get to cover the NFL, that I get to travel to London and to Kansas City and to do AFC championship games and to cover number 1 overall seed disasters against the Bengals and all these kind of things. Man, it's not possible without you guys. And it makes me legitimately emotional, because too much, and I'm going on too long here because we're coming up on an hour, and I got to let you guys get on with your evening. But I just want you to know that even though I'm scaling back a little, they're doing it so that I can work harder for you. And they're doing me the courtesy of making this an hour earlier, so that I can have my evenings back a little bit. Not that I don't love spending my nights with you guys on a regular basis, but I would like to have a little bit of my evenings back. There's just a lot going on, and I want to be able to be the best version of myself for you guys. And sometimes I feel like I haven't done, in particular, because it's at the end of the day, the primetime audience, justice enough. I know we joke about the show doesn't start until I get here, and I've never actually been late to primetime. But I do owe you guys more than that. I do owe you guys better than that. And I noticed that I was starting to take it for granted a little bit, and that made me sick. So I promise you that I'm always going to give you the best effort that I can. I hope that you guys will continue to rock with me. I can't wait to see you guys who have bought tickets. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I'm sorry it's a sellout, because I'm really damn proud. I'm really damn proud of all of this. I really am. All of it. I'm proud of A to Z. I'm proud of the radio show. I'm proud of the podcast with Greg. And I know that I cannot do it without you guys. And you guys have rocked with me since I came to Middle Tennessee. I know I'm a transplant, and nobody likes those. But damn, it's so cool. It's so cool. So I'm going to stop rambling. I'll let you guys get on with your evening. But I don't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. And I really should. But it would mean less if I told you all the time how much I love you. Rashid Jenkins says, "Don't start crying, Buck." I'm glad the camera's not closer, because I'm tearing up a little bit. But Nashville's my home. 9 years. I'm never going to be from here. But I'm always going to be for here. And I can't emphasize that enough. Anyway, let me shut the hell up. Aubrey says, "Is the Greg Show going to be streaming?" We're not going to live stream it. There's a lot of production that's going into this already. It's going to look phenomenal. We'll have it up on YouTube after the fact in parts, because I'm going to take some time off after we get this thing off the ground, because my God, has it been a bear to put together. But it will be available to you guys in some form or fashion later on. Anyway, it's not a goodbye speech. I know it sounds a little bit like that. It's just a I'm grateful speech, and I want to make sure that I reiterate that. It's literally the opposite of a goodbye speech. You guys got me under contract at A to Z for 2 more years, on radio for 4 more years. The worst case scenario is that you're not going to be able to get rid of me fast enough, because if you fire me now, you got to buy me out, and that's going to be a tough scene. All right, I'm done. Enough. See you guys. I won't see you. Well, I'll see you tomorrow on the radio show if you guys listen to the radio show or watch the radio show. And I will leave you with this. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. See you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Maybe I'll even show up on time.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!